week in racing. It's time to recap it. And who better to do it than Michael and Magic? Two bros/pros who cover the highs and lows of racing around the globe on every one of their shows. Real fans look forward to these guys and their last stunts, cause they know they're not talking out of their royal ascot. What they say makes sense. So ladies and gents, sit back and relax as Blinkers Off presents The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is The Magic Mike Show, episode 342. Mr. Somich.
Huzzah!
Oh boy, I am just happy to be alive and upright today. Let me tell you, what a wicked stomach flu I had over the weekend. I'm happy to hear all about the racing thoughts that you have for this weekend. How are you doing today?
I'm doing exceptional, man. I mean, this weekend absolutely delivered on every stage. Like we talked about what a good gambling weekend this was with the horse racing, multiple tracks, football, which absolutely lived up to it. And I'm jacked up, man, because NHC is this weekend. So I've got these text chains that are going with a bunch of people I'm going to get to see again. It's just so much fun to go to these big events and be able to see everybody. And NHC is unique because, BCBC, everyone's at the track, walking around, moving around. You don't necessarily see everybody. NHC, it's one room. Everyone's there. So I can't wait to get out to Vegas on Wednesday night and start seeing people on Thursday and just roll into this weekend, man.
Yeah, it's a spoiler alert. Mike Somich won't be here on the Magic Mike Show on Thursday. He's going to be too busy in Las Vegas busting his ass at NHC. I'm excited for it. It sucks that you're going to be – I think it kind of sucks that you're there for Pegasus just because Pegasus is its own huge big event. And so NHC kind of being there sometimes can overshadow it a little bit. But I am very excited for you and very pumped. I know we're going to get into that a little bit more in the show.
It's a little bummer it's at Pegasus weekend. Pegasus is one of the better live money tournaments of the year. It's a full Gulfstream card, usually a $6,000 buy-in. Obviously, they're not having it this year because a lot of the people that would play the Pegasus tournament are going to be over in Vegas. So it doesn't make any sense to kind of try and go after that same market. And it's a bummer. I was going to go to Pegasus this year too. So I wish that this somehow worked out differently. But if you've never played NHC and you want to qualify for 1 year, next year is the year. You know why? Super Bowl Sunday.
Oh.
They're having it on Super Bowl weekend,
which
means the hotel rooms actually have value next year versus, the whatever they're worth this year. So it's a killer year to go next year because it's Super Bowl Sunday that's actually being played on.
Yeah, I think the normal discount rate they give the NHC guy, you get what, $10 off the block rate? Is that what it is? The normal sticker price for your hotel room?
No, you get a free room, which is great.
Oh,
it's not necessarily a Bally's room on a random weekend in January usually isn't that valuable.
Got it. That's true. Yeah. Well, listen, sometimes you're just there. You just need a place that has a pillow and a shower. That's really all you need. A place to store your shit. Good to see Cindy here in the chat. Yeah, we're a little early this morning or afternoon, whatever time zone you're in, just because moving our schedules around, but we're happy to have the folks that are here to join us. Mike, before we get into the show, which we're going to be talking about the Derby and Oaks preps from this weekend and our thoughts about it, what's the best thing you saw this weekend? Because there's a lot to choose from.
There really is. I mean, the Blues were phenomenal. Husso got the second star of the week. I could totally go the hockey route. Horse racing was great. I won a second NHC seat this weekend and 15,000 in tournaments. That was awesome. I'm still going with the NFL, though. Like, oh, my God, what a weekend. It just delivered on every aspect. The Saturday games were sloppy at best, but still dramatic and phenomenal in that sense. I wish the Titans had covered. Then the parlay we put up on the site for $100 for $3,000 would have hit, but it was still nice to go 4 out of 5. And hopefully other people ran it back like I did after that first game. The last 4 of them hit. And then, man, the games on Sunday were phenomenal. I mean, that Rams-Bucks game was kind of a snoozer early, but as someone who bet the Rams, was awesome to watch until the last couple minutes when the wheels absolutely fell off. And then, what can you say about that Sunday night game? I mean, it rarely does a game, a movie, or whatever it is, live up to the expectations. And that Chiefs-Bills game may have exceeded the expectations that people actually had going into it. And it was supposed to be, the greatest game of the year. And it definitely delivered. And there's people, this is the greatest playoff game ever. I mean, just to be able to go to that extent with that much on the line is pretty incredible. Great to see Allen. Great to see Mahomes play. Man, it makes me frustrated as a Dolphins fan, though. I mean, you watch that and you're like, okay, so it's Allen, Mahomes. We've got Burrow, Herbert, all in the AFC. Tua's not going to cut it. Sorry, it's not going to work out.
Yeah, the text chain was really fun to watch. I didn't really know what was going on most of the weekend because my son, thankfully, brought home a stomach bug that was like, I was sick, top 5 sickest I've ever been in my life, and I was in a fraternity in college, so like, that's a high bar to kind of clear. And this was just, we were in bed, both the wife and I got hit at the same time, within hours of each other, and bedridden for a day and a half. So it was like Sunday afternoon, I finally got out and was like, I convinced Aaron to hop on like at halftime of the Rams Bucks game, and then he did all of the replay and recap talk for me that's on our YouTube channel that I normally do because I have no energy. I still don't have much energy. I feel like I'm trailing off mid sentence here, so I'm really sorry. I'm gonna try and speak as little as possible today because the energy level is still low. But that thing, Mike, was, my God, I wouldn't wish that on anybody not named Bob Baffert. That thing just absolutely destroyed me inside. Oof.
As a parent, you get sick exponentially more than you ever did in your life. It's unbelievable. And there's no way to avoid it. There's like, I was sick this week. I took a COVID test on Friday, which luckily was negative. But like, you know why? Because my daughter caught something from her preschool. Like, it just happens. It is what it is. And you realize that all of a sudden you're going to get sick 3 times a year instead of once every 3 years.
Which is fun. I've accepted that. This was the first time we both got hit at the same time, and we're literally bedridden. Like, I had to call in an emergency favor from a friend and be like, we're throwing up constantly here. Will you come over to our house? Because like our 8-month-old is crying and needs help. So, but yeah, well, luckily we have an angel of a friend who came and helped, and we know that we can get by it. But yeah, definitely no wishes on anybody. But definitely going to be a fun show. Mike's going to give us his thoughts on the Derby and the Oaks Preps from this week, and we're also going to talk about Kentucky Derby Future Wager Pool 2, which just closed. Mike did a preview video with me last week that actually was a big hit on the website, so we're going to talk about this some more and kind of talk about the differences between what you see what Churchill offers versus an offshore book. So going to be a lot of fun. You know Mike loves the offshore book talk, so lots to get into. Let's do it, Mike. Riders up! All right, Mike, first thing I want to do, let's look at the Lecomte Stakes. This was the big race, the Kentucky Derby prep race from this weekend, and all eyes were on 2 horses, Epicenter, Papa Cap. Papa Cap somehow still the Kentucky Derby points leader entering the Lecomte Stakes with 12 points. Won the Best Pal, and then he got the other 2 from, I think, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. But he's not a horse that usually likes to win. And we've got Epicenter, who just wins the Gunrunner Stakes. Really impressive race here from Epicenter, but I'm going to play the replay here. Walk me through what you were thinking, though, with this race.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this was actually really impressive on multiple fronts. Look, Epicenter didn't get a loose lead or an easy lead. He got away a little bit after we get through the first turn here, but you can see he doesn't make the rail till later in the race. Goes 23 and change, 47, basically flat for the opening half mile, and then takes inside pressure from Papa Cap. I thought it was a pretty valiant effort by Epicenter to fight off that inside pressure from Papa Cap. Papa Cap looked absolutely loaded around the turn and just wasn't able to get by at all. Man, this is interesting because you kind of start to look at, okay, who is phase 2 in this Derby trail and how does it play out? I mean, obviously Papa Cap coming out of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and Call Me Midnight, your eventual winner, got smoked by Smile Happy in Kentucky. So you're starting to get some comps so that you can compare to some of these horses and where they ran and how they ran. I was most impressed by Epicenter in this race over any horse. I don't think he really saw Call Me Midnight coming on the outside. I think he was so focused on that 3 Papa Cap on the inside that he didn't necessarily see the challenge coming. I thought he showed a ton of heart. But again, I think this flatters Smile Happy a lot. And White Abario as well, who ends up running 3rd in that race and didn't necessarily have room at the top of the stretch of Kentucky. So I think it's interesting to start seeing some of these comps come out. And the fact that Papa Cap couldn't get by Epicenter, also the first knock we've seen on California horses traveling outside of California in a couple years. So that also is something I think you have to start paying attention to. Now, I will say this track was speed favoring all weekend. So for Call Me Midnight to be able to make this move, I think was darn impressive. So you got to respect this move from Call Me Midnight. You got to respect this horse at this point. Obviously, the long stretch helped. But to me, this is really Epicenter and Call Me Midnight. Both ran very, very well. Papa Cap had every chance and just couldn't get it done. And now you have to start talking about those California horses and whether or not they're as good as they were the last 2 crops we've seen.
That's a great point, bringing up the California horses. I haven't thought about that, Mike. Yeah, I'm glad this is why I bring you on. This is great. Let's look back at Call Me Midnight because if you look at if you scratch out the Kentucky Jockey Club, who he's faced since after his first 2 starts were duds, actually very solid. So there's a very key race on September 18th, race 5 at Churchill that he was in, where Great Escape won, Seal Beach was second, Giant Game was third, Call Me Midnight fourth. That race has produced a lot of good performers. Going down the road, you see Giant Game beat Call Me Midnight. Giant Game then got third in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile off of that effort. Call Me Midnight finished second, then breaks his maiden next out. Kentucky Jockey Club, whatever happened in that race, we can scratch that off. First time facing winners, and then he shows up here. Projecting forward, Call Me Midnight by Midnight Loot out of a first defense mare. It doesn't scream distance, whereas I look at Epicenter and it's not this time out of a Candy Ride mare. I think Epicenter will continue to get better as they go longer, and I agree with you, Mike, that I think Rosario and Epicenter they had no idea that horse was coming. So projecting forward for the top 3 finishers here, what do you think?
Epicenter would be the horse I'd want moving forward from a Derby perspective, especially. I agree with you from a pedigree standpoint. He's better suited to go longer. Also, dead closer in the Derby, not generally a winner. They love hitting the board, but it's really hard to win as a dead closer in the Derby. And the one thing that we have seen consistently here from Call Me Midnight is that he is not going to be anywhere close to the lead. I mean, he has been 8th, 9th, and 7th at the half-mile point in the last 3 races. Now, he's won 2 of those 3. But again, that is not what you want when it's a 20-horse field and you have to weave through all of this traffic, maintain your momentum, and be able to catch these horses up front that are going to go a little bit. Well, it'll be interesting to see how the pace is in Derby. But generally, as you go further, the pace is a little bit slower, and a horse like Epicenter would have a little bit more left. Again, he didn't clear here when you're watching this race until almost the half-mile point. And that, I think, is a big part of this, too. He took pressure early. He took pressure at the top of the stretch. I thought this was a pretty impressive effort.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the fractions, I mean, he went 23-2, and then it was 23-3 for the next split. So almost as quick down the backside, and he looks comfortable doing it. And for him to be able to kind of set those fractions and then fend off Papa Cap, who, yes, he was coming off a layoff, and you might argue needed a race. I would counter-argue he had a dream trip. The rail opened up for him, and when it was time to go, he just couldn't go. Epicenter was just too strong of a fighter for him there. But definitely, listen, Block Party is in here. Desormo made my weekend. Call me stuff. If you had Call Me Midnight, major props to you. Aaron said on the video that's playing, if you actually listen to it, over at youtube.com/racingdudes, that there was a little bit of steam he was hearing on Call Me Midnight. So I guess there was a little bit of a word out on him. But he went off at 28-1 on a 20-1 morning line. So we'll see. Anyways, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I know Cyberknife was a horse that was getting some hype. It's the horse that Brad Cox says was his only potential Derby runner, and he ran like the jackass I thought he was. He finished 6th. So I think the top 3 finishers who are all within a length of each other will take them. Trafalgar, I love you, but I not moving forward.
Yeah, you're not quite good enough. Glad to see Cindy crushed it too here on Fairgrounds on Saturday. Sounds like she had Call Me Midnight as well.
Nice.
And man, the Desormos, they're like having a pretty good here. Late 2021, early 2022. Ken out there crushing it on the turf in California, and obviously Keith here getting the big training victory. So Desormos starting out the year pretty well here.
So Call Me Midnight, not part of the Kentucky Derby future wager pool 2. Mike was saying whoever comes out of this winning this race was going to end up being your favorite. And, well, we didn't get that because nobody saw that happening. But you see Epicenter is 24-1 off of 15-1. But what we want to talk about, where Mike is really good at, is comparing the odds for U.S. versus international. So, Mike, I'll let you take it over, buddy.
Yeah, this is one of the things we talked about in that video. And one of the things that's important, especially with how mature the gambling market is becoming here in the United States and overseas, is making sure that you shop around and look at the best possible options. And we talked about how with the pari-mutuel pool in Kentucky, you don't necessarily get the best possible chance to be able to make a good amount of money if you do like one of these 20 horses that are offered. Obviously, if you're playing the field, that's a different perspective. It's going to end up being the favorite in every single pool up until we're closer to the Derby here. But if you like one of these horses and you want to try and find your best value, often the best way to do it is to shop around and look for some type of fixed odds offering. And so that's kind of just one of the things we wanted to bring up here. I'm surprised by some of these prices. I thought Epicenter would hold or maybe even drop off that 15-1 based on that effort. So 24-1, I actually don't think is a terrible price on him, because I would expect you're going to see him in the Derby based off of that performance, as long as he's able to stay healthy. But like a great example here, if you go to the favorite, so our off odds favorite here in this pool at 8-1 is Smile Happy, who was flattered very much by Lecomte there. If you flip over, and I just have one of the offshore books here that I'm going to pull up real quick. If you flip over to the offshore books, you can see you can get 20-1 on Smile Happy right now. So you're getting literally more than double. You're getting 2.5 times the pari-mutuel price. And this is just one book. I haven't shopped around. I'm just looking at one specific place here. And one of the main reasons is you don't have the field. So you don't have that heavy favorite that's taking some money. The other reason is Baffert horses are included here. So you can bet Carniche. You can bet Newgate. So you can bet some of those horses as well, which means that they're going to see inflated odds in other entries. So I just want to remind people, like, if you're going to look at these pools and the future pools, the exacta future pool is great. I don't see that offered anywhere right now. But this win pool, make sure you're shopping around because you don't always get the best price in that future pool in the Kentucky Derby odds.
Oh boy, it's always interesting too when we talk about the international stuff because they're not up to date like we are. So you see Rocket Dog is the same price as Doppelganger. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Forbidden Kingdom is ahead of Tiz the Bomb, who, by the way, Tiz the Bomb 10-1 second choice stateside. So, if you like Tiz the Bomb, this is the pool you play, not that one.
Well, Emmanuel, which I think is a horse that a lot of people like out of the Pletcher barn, going to be down in Florida, 33-1 here, off at 17-1, I believe it was in future pool number 2. So you're getting almost double the odds on that horse as well. So I just want to make sure if you look at these future plays, which I think are great right now, if you're trying to get a big score for a small amount of money, because it's so much fun. I mean, I remember I had Justify at 35-1. It was a lot of fun seeing him walk in the gate at 5-2. I mean, that makes you feel really good, right? Even before he cashes the ticket, you're like, this was a good decision. I'm plus EV here if you give me this every year. So it's a lot of fun to have some of these bets. I think it's a good idea to kind of add it to your portfolio to have a big shot at a big score on a big day. But just make sure you're doing your due diligence and you're shopping around and making sure you're getting the best price, because this is just a great example of where you're getting 2x to 2.5x almost every single horse in the Derby future pool, depending on who you like.
Block Party says Slow Down Andy is their early Kentucky Derby pick, and you get 25-1 there, 20-1 in the pool. That's just interesting. I think out of that race, which the winner of the Low Sal Futurity, I think that's the horse other than Messier, who was second and the big favorite, that I would want. But they're both set up for a showdown. They should be facing each other relatively soon. What is it going to be? The Robert B. Lewis Stakes. That's what's next at San Diego. It should be end of the month, right? Another week or two till that? Yeah, I should know this stuff. I swear I'll be better next show, guys. I swear. Any other thoughts that you want to go over from this, Mike? It was pretty interesting. I thought that you talked about White Abarrio and how this kind of Call Me Midnight winning flatters him because he was third and arguably the second best horse behind Smile Happy in the Kentucky Jockey Club. 171-1. The hell? What is this? What is this shit?
That's worth a couple shekels. I didn't even see that. I probably would have dropped a $5 around there.
Me
right?
too.
Pay the $1,000 if you hit it for $5. I mean, likelihood of White Abarrio winning the Derby, not high. Don't get me wrong, but not
if
quarter to one either.
If Baffert's not in, this thing it's grab ass is what this is.
And to further your point, you mentioned what's his face, Papa Cap, your Derby points leader, at 14, 1-4, like. It doesn't take much right now to get into the Kentucky Derby. And obviously you've got the bigger preps that are coming, but it's going to be an absolute wild Derby if none of these Bafferts actually end up in this Derby. And it's crazy. We're talking about this. Well, the NYRA hearing is going on with Baffert and NYRA, which somehow is a jurisdiction that's banning him first. I mean, obviously Kentucky has as well, and we'll see what happens there. But NYRA beat him to the punch last year. It's going to be awfully interesting to see how this plays out, because these pools, especially where you don't know, right now you get every Baffert at 3-5, right? I mean, so it's interesting how you kind of don't know who's in, who's out, how this is going to play out. But we'll see moving forward here. I'm also interested to see if you see any trainer switches in between the second to last and the last prep, because you just need to win that last prep to make the Derby. And if you have that trainer switch before that last prep, you get the points, you head to the Derby, and you still had Baffert training the horse for the first, 2.5 years of its career, essentially.
Yeah, you only need to win a 50-point race. So you win a 50-pointer or you get second in a 100-pointer, you're in. And there's enough of those races and there's enough bad horses earning those points right now that you can get away with it.
On top of that, if you have a bunch of Bafferts win the 50-pointers, and then it completely changes the whole game. Because if the Bafferts ship to New York and ship to Arkansas and ship to ship to Sunland, all over the place to take down these 50-point races and win all of them in California too, all of a sudden they switch barns. All he needs is a second, maybe even a third in some of the 100-point races, and you're going to qualify for the Derby. That's because all of the points are zeroed out or gone.
Right.
The level to enter is going to be so much lower if that is the way this actually plays out.
Oh God, this is fantastic. You know what I keep thinking about lately when this comes up is how smart Saratoga Slim was to retire for good right before all this happened. Because Slim used to do this really great article where he was tracking and predicting how many points you needed to earn to make the Kentucky Derby gate, and he was always spot on and would tell you who was going to make it from the projected fields. He would have no freaking clue how to do with this one, and he would lose his mind. So, Slim, congratulations. You made the right decision.
I would say, yes, he would lose his mind, but I would also say with chaos comes opportunity. And so whenever you have situations like this, you're going to have chances to be able to take some swings and get monster odds on horses that shouldn't be there because of everything that's going on. And you know, like, would Newgage be 33-1 offshore if Baffert were allowed to be in the Derby right now? I mean, like, there's some examples where, like, you get monster prices on horses right now because of the uncertainty. So with chaos comes opportunity, and you got to decide when you want to pull the trigger there.
Emmanuel went from 50-1 morning line to 17-1. That horse has fired back-to-back bullets. So even though he missed that Tampa Bay Downs allowance with a fever, he bounced right back. They're still looking for an allowance race for him. It seems like Fletcher really wants to take the always dreaming approach with him. And really, there's something about that Tampa Bay allowance for that second start that just gets Fletcher's rocks off. I don't know. It works. So so that's a big reason, I think, why you see him plummet down to 17-1, along with, you know, who the hell else is on this list. Chasing Time only drops from 20-1 to 17-1. This is the My Racehorse horse that won at Oaklawn. Everybody understandably lost their mind over him. I was a little surprised he didn't take more movement on that. Were you?
I mean, if you scroll down and you look at the money that went on the all other entries, any horse that drops is a pretty significant movement in my mind.
That's true.
Because, like, when you have 9-5 favorite down at the bottom, taking that much money in a pool of 24 options, even dropping from 20 to 17 is a significant drop. If you look at this, I think there's only like 4 horses in the entire thing that dropped, if you're not counting like the 3-point from 50 to 47 drop. I mean, Smile Happy doesn't drop from 8-1. You're going to see just a couple in there that actually take a drop down. Tis the Bomb, I was shocked, drop from 20-1 to 10-1. But it's really hard to really see that big time drop when you have this heavy of a favorite and this big of a field.
Especially all other 3-year-olds, which has been the favorite every year since in this pool. Since this pool has started, that actually, like, the odds improved on that. That's actually, especially because the Baffert thing is very unclear. A little surprising.
Decent value at 9-5.
Yeah, it's a little sneaky there now that once you think about it a little bit. But that was our rundown, the list of the Kentucky Derby future wager pool. Hope everybody found that enlightening, or at least if you were looking to play, Mike gives you some other options of where to go with it. We're gonna do some go back to the Kentucky Oaks prep races. There were 2 of them from this weekend. One was exciting, one not so much. Let's do the exciting one first. Back at Fairgrounds, the Silverbulletday Stakes, and a race that you and I, to start the pick 4, correctly singled with Lecomte on top. But I will say it was not as slam dunk as we might have thought it was going to be for her. She looked very solid in this race, but she took a lot of pressure and showed a lot of heart here. Give me your thoughts on Lecomte.
Yeah, I mean, this is one where I'm not sure. So I obviously the best horse in the race, and I'm not totally sure what to make of it, because when you watch Rosario Rider, he never looked worried. He was very, very confident. Even when she got past, he was very, very, very confident. He just
looked and was like, okay.
Yeah, it's just, so when you see a jockey who is that confident, and like, you really got to wonder how much was left in the tank here. Obviously, Lecomte fights back, able to get the job done. I don't think we saw her best. I think this was still not emptying the tank. I thought this was a really impressive performance. We discussed how we expected something like this from Lecomte. I actually think, I mean, I'm excited about the filly class this year. I think this is going to be a lot of fun going forward in the Kentucky Oaks. I think we got 4 or 5 really quality fillies, and not all of them have faced stakes competition yet either. So I'm excited to see how this class develops. I think Lecomte has to be considered one of the front runners in this class. It's just another good Asmussen horse, man.
A half-sister to Clairiere, who we saw how dominant she was last year throughout the 3-year-old division, especially at Fairgrounds. And she's a half to Clairiere who's by Medaglia d'Oro. So, like, it's like, how can you be better than a half-sister to Clairiere? Well, we'll make you buy Medaglia d'Oro. I don't think it really can get better beyond that. But this is what Mike's talking about. If you're seeing the replay of the screen here, she's passed. Fannie and Freddie is on the lead. Like, the chicklets at the bottom is wrong. Fannie and Freddie has the lead, and then Rosario waits until about the 3/16, and then he says, okay, now we're going to go. And she responds so beautifully. The one thing that's a little concerning, Mike, only a 74 buyer for this effort. Is this one where you kind of give a plus to it because visually this looked better than a 74? What do you make of it?
Again, I don't think the tank was empty. So I don't think this is the top tier effort from this horse. However, you'd still like to see that a little bit higher. But I mean, you got to look at the day as a whole and then decide whether or not you how fast the buyers came back on the overall day. This is a horse that, like, let's see where we end up next. Let's see who we're facing next. It's all going to be all about price and what you're looking at and how that field is. I think she definitely is more forwardly placed / need to lead type horse. I'd be interested to see if she faced a horse that's naturally faster than her early, see how that plays out. But yeah, I mean, I respect this win. I think that, like you said, you put a little plus sign next to it. I think it's better visually than it was on paper. So maybe that helps get a little bit better of a price next time out. But I have a feeling this horse is getting bet no matter where it is.
Slight concern I have with her. We also talked about on the preview that we were singling her, and she had a 67 buyer for winning her debut. And we're like, she was so much better than a 67. So now that's twice where we're like, she looked better than the buyer. So just something to keep in mind moving forward, because I remember I said this about Millie Philly, that I was like, oh, she's better than the buyers. And then Millie Philly actually faced good horses, and it didn't work out very well for her. Except that one time it did. We don't talk about that. But just keep it in mind.
I haven't looked at the time form numbers yet. I always compare the buyers and the time form numbers because I think that's a good way to kind of see, if a horse is wildly outperforming the buyer numbers in time form, that's a good way to look at it and say, okay, well, maybe this horse is better than what you're necessarily seeing from a buyer perspective or on paper in DRF. So it's a good kind of just double check to see, all right, if the time form number is really high and the buyer comes back low, it kind of supports the visual side of it and that the source may be better than what we necessarily saw. So I think you always want to kind of double check your work there and make sure you're not looking at just one number to decide on how good a horse is. Interesting though that now you have Echo Zulu out of the
buyer's the be all end all. That's the rule, Mike.
Yes, that's it. Nothing else. It's interesting here too because you have Echo Zulu out of the Atchison barn, faster than her, need the lead, right? Like it's going to be interesting to see when these two horses face, who's going to take the lead. I mean, you have ironically an Atchison situation or Baffert situation on the Philly side with a couple Atchison horses here, and how they face each other. So it's going to be awfully interesting when Echo Zulu and Lecomte end up meeting at some point, because they will. I mean, they're going to end up running into each other, if not sooner than definitely in the Kentucky Oaks.
Excuse me. I was trying to see if I could find a time form US figure for that, but I couldn't for that race or for the Busanda, which we're going to talk about in a second. But Aaron, I know you're watching. If you happen to know, you can drop us in the chat. But real quick, Mike, it's not an overly exciting race to talk about. The Busanda Stakes at Aqueduct on Sunday. Another 10-point Kentucky Oaks prep race, but a pretty boring one. Magic Circle, the favorite at 6-5 on the rail. We got lone speed on paper. You try taking shots against her because it's boring as hell. Just go 6-5. Let's do this. In a 6-horse field. So you got to make it interesting. The 4-horse Game Stonks, who you used as your second horse, I think we scratched this off. She just seemed like she hated Aqueduct. Never involved ease, but overall, what did you think of this race?
I mean, look, Aqueduct, especially this weekend, if you're going 2 turns and you get loose like this on the lead, it is awfully hard for anyone to run you down. So it's just one of those situations where it's tough. And I was hoping that you get a little bit more early pressure on Magic Circle, and that would kind of loosen her up a little bit. But here you can see, 24-2 for the opening quarter, over 48 for the half, no one within a length of her. It's just one of those situations where you knew she was going to just kind of pull away and stretch out around the final turn. And that's exactly what happened. Thought Waters of Miram ran okay here. I agree with you. Game Stonks just never had a chance. Didn't get out of the gates very well. And when you're that far back, it's just a complete cross out. I thought Morning Matcha ran decent to kind of come up and make up some ground and get up late. I think Morning Matcha ended up in second here. And that was the horse that kind of shipped in from Parks. It was interesting to see what she's going to do, especially since her best race was against a couple horses at Parks that aren't that great. So she's one that you kind of want to keep an eye on moving forward. But like we talked about, this 1 1/8 distance early in the 3-year-old season for fillies is wildly demanding. And so it's tough to take a lot away from this race. But, you got to give Magic Circle credit. She had everything go her own way, but she also got the job done, was able to win. So, I generally fade Aqueduct horses. I'm probably fading this whole field when I get the chance to. But, you got to respect what she was able to do here.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the takeaway. Jose Ortiz is something that Aaron mentioned on the replay show as well. Jose Ortiz stayed in Aqueduct one more day just before he went back to Gulfstream Park, which he said he was going to stay at Aqueduct for the meet because of his kids and everything. And then he got to January. He's like, nope, I'm sick of this.
Well, you're losing 2 days a week, right? Because of the winter scratches, or they cancel the card because it's too cold, there's snow, whatever it is. And you have these purses down at Gulfstream with these better horses that you can ride into stakes and longer, that you're guaranteed races. And like, love it or hate it, that Tapeta course means as many horses aren't scratching when it rains off. I mean, you saw 4 scratches across the card when they moved 4 races to Tapeta. It makes a big difference. And so when you are a jockey and it's all about mounts and getting the mounts and making the money, it helps a lot when you're not losing any horses. And it's not so bad being in Fort Lauderdale right now compared to being in Ozone, New York, right? I mean, let's be honest. The weather's a little bit better down there.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry if I was a little choppy with this. I don't know what was going on, but I think I fixed it there. I heard everything you were saying. Yeah, I don't
get some better internet, man.
It's because my computer. It's because I played the Aqueduct replay. It literally, if you watch, all of a sudden the Aqueduct replay stops. And my computer just did not want to do that.
I gotta say, I do like how we didn't talk about Sam Houston at all. We do, like, usually we do our late pick 4 review here, and one race that we went back and forth on Sam Houston, my horse Ayers, and we don't even get to talk about it.
I literally didn't know what happened. So please, I'm not being a jerk. I literally tell me what happened.
Oh, I'm just giving you shit. Remember the Need the Speed race that we argued about for 5 minutes on Thursday?
No.
Friday's
a blur.
This is terrible content. Let's keep going.
This is wonderful. Basically, Mike was right. Magic was wrong. And in other words, water's wet. Let's see. We're going to do a shorter show today. But that is pretty much kind of a slower weekend. Didn't want to do a pick 4, but I will be back Thursday. Mike will be at NHC. Shoot. Okay. Well, I gotta find a replacement for you. So we'll find a co-host for Thursday. But I will be back 5:30 Eastern, 2:35 Eastern. I'll be back at some point. I don't even know who my guest is gonna be. But Mike, before we go, a little bit about NHC. Just give your final thoughts on it, and any other closing arguments.
Yeah, I mean, it's a blast. I mean, it's so much fun to be able to play. The whole tournament scene's fun to play. If you've never played the tournaments, I'd highly recommend you do it. There's a couple that, like, I love that more racetracks are getting involved in this too. Tampa Bay Downs just had one. There's $1,000 buy-in that you get to essentially bet with your $1,000 and keep whatever it is. I was fortunate enough to qualify my first entry through Lone Star. I would highly recommend anyone who is interested in playing tournaments. Lone Star is exceptional. It's a cash tournament. You buy in for $500 on Saturday and Sunday. There's a $2,500 one on Monday. You can qualify for the Monday one on Saturday or Sunday, as well as win NHC seats on Saturday or Sunday. And you get all $500 in your bankroll. There's zero takeout. So it's a great way to kind of get involved and play tournaments. If you bet anyway, it's a great way to just move your betting money over toward a tournament like that. Have an absolute blast. You get to meet a ton of people that are really passionate about horse racing. Everyone, it's like, you see horse racing Twitter, which can be really vile at certain times. But man, everyone you walk in that room, you don't get to be around people who love horse racing all that often, let alone hundreds of them in the same place. And everyone knows how it feels to have horses and go through the process, lose a photo finish, lose a head bob, whatever it is, hit a big score. Everyone in that room has that camaraderie going. And it's funny, like, I'm going to be sitting there competing for $1 million at HC. I'm sitting with 5 people who will all be rooting for each other. I know 4 or 5 other tables in the room. I'll be rooting for all of them to do well too. It's a really unique scenario where you see everybody get together, and you were there for an NHC. We sit with 4 random people, and we're all rooting for each other and cheering each other on and hoping it goes well. It's an interesting camaraderie that gets built there. And then look, there's one weekend a year you have a big, huge cardboard check with an $800,000 number on it, and it's this weekend, and that's pretty awesome. I love the fact you can't buy in either. You got to earn your way in there, and you've got to be able to win one of these tournaments. It's not easy to win, to be able to get a seat there. So pretty incredible. Excited to be back for the 3rd straight year. Cashed first year. Last year was a disaster. This year, hopefully, is better. Got 2 entries again this year. Was lucky, like I said, to get my second one over the weekend. So go out there with a plan. Hopefully handle the 2 entries better than I did last year and see what happens, man.
This is the year we find out if your good luck charm was Magic, who was there with you the entire weekend, or your wife, who was there for a wine tour of the different hotels.
Yeah, we'll see if she does the wine and oyster tour again this year.
There you go. No, I'm very jealous. Everything Mike said is 100% true. It's so odd that you're all competing for this $800,000 grand prize, and you're all more or less cheering for each other. There's a couple people that are assholes you don't care about, but for the most part, it's like compared to horse racing Twitter, the amount of positivity versus negatives, it's just great. I still remember Richie, our guy that was at our table, and his buddies from Jersey. So they were a lot of fun, and they just happened to sit down because they needed a spot to sit, and there was open spot where you and I were at. So It really is a lot of fun. I know that, once things calm down and the world's back to normal, I think Aaron was talking about coming out even just to hang out for the weekend. So, which is what I do. I don't bet. I just sit there and I do the live blog. That's a lot of fun. Actually, it was a harder job than what I usually do normally.
And we have, I mean, I think it's 4 or 5 of the Magic Mike Army is going to be out there too. Congratulations. I know Mark's out there, B Squared's out there. There's a ton of people that are going to be able to make the trip this time. Who listen to the show. Tyler's going to be there. I mean, it's going to, it's going to be a blast, man. And I'm excited to get the DMs. If anyone who qualified has any questions, reach out to me. I mean, I'm happy to answer anything coming up for the tournament and kind of share my experience over the last 2 years and kind of some of the strategies that I'm going to take for moving into it. So super excited that we have people that have reached out to me saying, hey, I got into this because I heard you guys talking about it on the show and we're taking a shot. So good luck everybody else who's out there. By all means, if you're out there, come say hi to me. Love to meet you, talk to you, and hopefully someone takes it down that we know. I mean, that's right. That's the end goal. I want hopefully someone in that circle of friends there is able to take the money down.
Listen, if it can't be you, may it be Dr. Tang. I do want to know, because the first year we could do this, and last year you couldn't, can we bet on Mike Somich to win the NHC this year? I need another souvenir ticket.
I don't know, man. That was one of my favorite parts about the first year. You get to go and bet on yourself in the sports book, and like they set these asinine odds, right? Like I think the favorite was 80-1, which is absurd. No one should be 80-1. And I think, what was I, 160-1? Is that right?
I got you at 140. Somebody bet you down by the time I got there. Damn.
Well, what can I say? But yeah, $140 is still crazy. In a room of 500 of the best handicappers, $140
was your first time, and it's
it's nuts. But we made the money. I mean, they tried to make a little bit of a run. So yeah, hopefully that'll be back. That was a Nevada state gaming law that did not allow them to list it. I think that's what Steve Bick said last year. So hopefully that's back. If it is, Bally's Sportsbook would have it up, and you're able to go bet on yourself at Bally's Sportsbook. And I think it's a blast to have a $5 souvenir ticket that has your name on it. So make sure you check that out if you're out in Vegas. And then, I don't know about everyone else, I'm probably going to just go hang out in the sportsbook after this. I'm psyched that we've got the championship Sunday in the NFL right after NHC ends. So it's going to be an absolute blast to have football too. It's just I'm really excited about this weekend. It's going to be a great time.
The real question is, though, will it live up to last weekend? Like, could anything that happens next weekend in the NFL live up to what you guys all lost your minds over this past week?
No, there's no chance. I mean, look, you're most likely going to have a not as close game, although since he did beat Kansas City in the regular season in the AFC, in the NFC, I'm just not that pumped up about the game. You know what I mean? So, we'll see, but I'm just excited to be back in a Vegas sportsbook for prime time football. It's so much fun. Like I lived there for 6 years, loved March Madness, loved the NFL playoffs. There's just so much electricity to be able to do it. I mean, it's funny. I asked Jared on our live stream that we did Friday, where are you going to watch the game? And he said, I'm going to watch it home by myself. My biggest game I ever watched in my life, my personal fandom, Game 7, St. Louis Blues, Boston Bruins in a Vegas sportsbook. Loved it. Like I love being in a Vegas sportsbook for these type of things. I can't wait to be back out there.
So I'll bring this not to make you feel bad, but to show how close you were. That this is what Mike did last week for the first time. He did a weekend parlay picks, and if the Titans hadn't screwed things up in that first one, Mike gave out a parlay, and if you'd run it back, as he mentioned earlier on the show, I mean, $100 would have pulled in $2,900 on this, and if you ran it back, I don't know what the odds were. What about? Did you get about 20-1 on there?
About 1,500.
1,500. Okay. Well, still, I mean, a great return. So congratulations if you did that. But I bring this all up to say, hey guys, we have racenews.com/sports. Some people still know that, and I just click on the wrong thing there. Racenews.com/sports, where Aaron and Papa Dude are covering all the stuff happening in sports betting. Right now, they're talking some NBA and college basketball. Papa Dude being a longtime prep coach, I'm very excited to see how he does with March Madness. I've heard he's kind of a wizard with it, so we'll see how that goes. But the free NFL picks have been doing solid too. So just go to racenews.com/sports. Aaron's got the NHL picks going. Which, Mike, did you see this? He did it with the widget.
Yeah, I'm finally, man. I've been trying to get him to do this for months. He texted me this morning. He's like, "It's incredible. I love it." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, you're welcome." Okay.
And Mike's like, "Yeah, I've been saying this for a week or a month."
I literally got made fun of on the internal call when I kept bringing this up so many times. I'm glad he finally tried it.
So here you can see that we're starting to look a little fancier here, where you can click on if you want free NFL picks, free NHL picks. This is the NHL one, but you know, nice and neat and crisp that is, all thanks to our friends at Tally Site doing this for us. So great style, but you can come over, you can see exactly who Aaron is picking. He has been 229 and 178 overall on the season. That is incredible. Aaron is killing it secretly at hockey. Why is he hiding that from me? Aaron, Come on, man. That's awesome. So, yeah, racingnews.com/free-NHL-picks or just racingnews.com/sports. We got it all right there for you, baby.
Love it, man.
So exciting. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Again, we were a little early, but we appreciate you adjusting your times with us, and it was a lot of fun. I will be back on Thursday. I keep forgetting Mike's going to be departing for Las Vegas. So best of luck to you, buddy. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Somobomb18, number 1, number 8, for all of his updates from NHC. I am at Curtis Kalleward, Corporate Overlords at Racing_Dudes. Again, I'll be back on Thursday with someone talking about the Pegasus World Cup late pick 4 over at youtube.com/racingdudes. We're going to have a shit ton of stuff for the Pegasus, so if you're interested in playing that, go check that out. Of course, the inside track to the Pegasus World Cup wagering guide is available now for pre-sale. Make sure you check that out as well. Go to racingnews.com. The draw is Wednesday, which means the guide should be out probably Thursday morning, so if you pre-order it, you will be the first one to get it. It'll be showing up in your account the second it's available. So once more, thanks everybody for joining us. I'll be back on Thursday. Until then, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck at Vegas, baby.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.